Wow, thank you all for coming. This is very exciting for me that my hometown, kind of, I grew up in Ontario, I grew up in Toronto, and I moved out to Vancouver a while ago, let's say 25 years now. But I do miss Ontario. Maybe not right now. Hopefully spring is coming. Q&A, still lots of yeses. Will the slides be made available? That I don't know. I do know that this is being recorded right now. I know because I had to push the recording button, and that it will be on their YouTube channel after this. Question on how to best manage seasonal allergies. That is not going to be covered today in this talk. Did a talk for the clinic I work at here just last week. That's not going to be covered. That's not part of this immune gut health stress. We're really looking at stress and immunity because that is the world we are living in right now. So I'm going to minimize Q&A again and go over to the chat box again. Do you want us to put our questions in the chat or in the Q&A? Really, it's all kind of the same to me. Healthy Planet always sends an email with the recording a few days after the session. Great. So chat, I think, if you want to talk to each other, and maybe, what did she just say? And Q&A if you have something very specific you want me to answer. I'll be checking in both. Oh, Montréal. Je tenais à Montréal. Welcome. And Brampton. Oh my goodness. I am not going to be talking about SIBO, bloating, or IBS. Really, it's stress and immunity, although those do tie into SIBO. That's just a whole other topic. I do a lot of SIBO. I'm going to be doing for myself a talk on SIBO in April because April is IBS month. So maybe I can get some information to you that way. From Saskatchewan, my goodness. Hi from Toronto. Okay, I'm just waiting for the participant levels to slow, but we are at 5 minutes after the hour, so I am going to start. Yeah, check back in April. That is not through Healthy Planet. It's through my thing, but look me up. We can talk. Awesome. Okay, so hi to everyone. Great, closing that down. I am not going to be distracted by Q&A until the end of the presentation, but please do put your questions and answers in there. Again, thank you all for joining us this evening. I'm Dr. Miranda Wiley. I'm a naturopathic physician in Vancouver, British Columbia. But as I said, I was born in Montreal. I was raised in Toronto. I started in a health food store there when I was the tender age of 13 years old. It was a job to get me out of the house. And it started everything. It was just snowballed. I'm not very good at saying I don't know. I can say I don't know yet. So people would ask me questions and I wouldn't know what evening primrose oil did. Come back to me next week, go to the library. I'm that old. There wasn't internet. So would learn about it. They'd come back. I tell them what evening primrose oil does. Great. What about vitamin D? I don't know. Come back next week. So I learned very organically early on about herbs and nutrients. Decided by 14 years old, I wanted to spend my life doing naturopathic medicine. And that was a wonderful path that has led me here. I do practice in Vancouver, although things certainly changed a lot in the last year. And now through this exciting new world of telehealth, I actually get to do more engagements with Ontario, which I've never done because that would have involved, flying and cost and things. So that's enough about me. We're going to talk about gut health, stress, and immunity, because these are all things that are coming up a lot in conversation right now and have for the last year or so. So for today, we are going to discuss the gut, brain, and immune connection. These are not three separate topics. These are three things that very much link and intertwine together. The mighty microbiome, the factors that affect that microbiome, the immune system, how stress impacts the immune system, probiotic strains that impact the immune system and our mood health, the importance of fiber, I talked to all of my patients about this, healing intestinal permeability, pretty much all of my patients about this, and then immune support strategies. How do we stay healthy in this weird and wonderful historical event that we are all linking arms and going through together? So we are looking at the gut being the foundation of health. 2,000 years ago, Hippocrates, accepted as the father of medicine, said that all disease begins in the gut. And that might not be 100% true. You might get a cut that becomes infected, and then that becomes gangrenous, and you have a whole other type of disease. But certainly many chronic diseases, many ongoing issues that we have can all be traced back to poor digestion, poor diet, something that is happening in the digestive tract. And so that is where we actually have a lot of influence in how we can support our own health. So we're going to be talking a lot about the gut. The gut, brain, and immune connection. So we have immune cells throughout our system. Predominantly, they are on the periphery of our body. So they are underneath our skin, but our skin is part of our immune system. We are multiple layers thick here where we can protect ourselves from cuts and scratches and keep bacteria out. Down our respiratory tree, the genitourinary tract, and then all along our digestive tract, we have a predominance of our immune system, because here we have layers of protection. In our airways, we have little hair-like fibers that help to sweep out debris and bacteria. We have, a range of ways to protect ourselves. But in the digestive tract, we get down at one point to being just a one-cell thick barrier where we have us on the inside and we have external environment on the outside, because we need to transmit nutrients across that membrane. And so we need to concentrate our immune system there, because it's where we're the most vulnerable to attack. That is our weakest link in the chain in terms of our defense system. So the body knows this. We have about 70% of our immune system lining that digestive tract in the gut-associated lymphoid tissue, or more commonly referred to as the GALT. We also have the BALT and the bronchi, but we're just talking about keeping our immune system and our digestive tract intact. The gut is absolutely the foundation of health, and it's home to the enteric nervous system. Enteric means digestive, which contains 100 million nerve cells that line the GI tract. Essentially, we have more nerve connection, more synapses in our gut than we do in our brain itself. And we know how important our brain and our spine are. Keep us going. Any severance in the spine or damage to the brain can have lifelong impacts. Our enteric nervous system is just as, if not more, vulnerable to impaired nervous function that will again have a big impact on the rest of our body. This system includes neural circuits that control motor functions, local blood flow, so that peristalsis, the squeezing of those muscles, mucosal secretions, the mucus that comes out, the digestive juices that come out, transport, and it modulates immune and endocrine function. So it's got widespread effects from that hub, that command central of our digestive tract. And the gut and the nervous system, there is a two-way street. Predominantly, that is done by the vagus nerve, which is one of our cranial nerves, cranial nerve number 10, that goes down, wraps down through our throat, and then around our heart and lungs, and then around and touches our digestive system. And predominantly, we're getting signals coming from the brain saying, okay, it's time to squeeze, it's time to release some hydrochloric acid, it's time to squeeze out some bicarb. It's helping modulate our digestive tract. But there is also about 20% of the signal goes the other way. So the highway goes predominantly in one direction, but there is feedback the other way too. So what we eat and digest can affect our mood and our nerves, and we have that two-way street. So we have extensive two-way connections between the enteric nervous system and the central nervous system. And understanding this really helps us to understand why keeping our gut health is paramount to overall good health. So if I kind of look at a spectrum of how to be healthy, I put 25% on digestive function and 25% on diet. You got 50% of your health covered right there. The other 50%, sleep and mood and supplements and activity and all the other things that we do. But digestion and diet, those are key. So our microbiome, back in the 1990s, they did a human genome project. So they invested in this amazing technology to learn about what our DNA says. Let's unravel it. Let's learn what each gene does. It was a huge undertaking, but then they did it. They finished it. And so what do we do now? We've got all of these scientists and this amazing equipment. And someone said, well, why don't we start looking at the microbes that live in us and on us? And now we have this massive, seemingly endless project of the microbiome genome project. So understanding this microbiome is one of the most significant discoveries in medicine. 200 years ago, we'd say that discovery of the bacteria was perhaps one of the most significant discoveries, and learning that there were invisible living things that affected our health one way or the other. And now this understanding that we are predominantly hosting trillions of these single-celled living things, and that they are very much in a relationship with us and supporting our health. Our body contains / hosts, because not all of it is within, trillions of different bacteria, viruses, and fungi, and that is all collectively known as the microbiome. And not all the viruses are bad. Some viruses actually help to control the bacterial species. Not all fungi are bad, or fungi, however you want to say it. But they're all there. They all are part of this rainforest ecosystem that live in and on us. Some bacteria are absolutely associated with disease, but others are extremely and vitally important for our health, which is why we no longer should prescribe, antibiotics for, oh, you have a sniffle, take some antibiotics. We are still exposed to antibiotics through our meat and dairy supply, unfortunately. So we still need to find ways of limiting that in order to maximize our microbiome. And what do these microbes do? For the most part, they're not harmful. They are completely beneficial. It is a symbiotic relationship. We are giving them a 37 degrees Celsius living environment that is regularly hydrated, that brings in supplies of food for them to live off of. They're happy. They want to keep us alive. And in doing so, they communicate with our immune system, which in turn communicates with our nervous system and every other part of our body. And we get this lovely symbiotic relationship where they are conferring benefit to us because we're very good hosts to them. Some microbes produce vitamins that we don't have the genes to make. We lost them through evolution because we started playing host to these microbes, and they became, abundantly available to us. So we don't need to get those vitamins ourselves. Some of them help to break down our food to extract nutrients. There could be those vitamins in the food, but our digestive system is inadequate for getting all of it out. So these microbes help to break it down further, and therefore we are able to get the benefit of that. And they teach our immune systems how to distinguish dangerous invaders from innocuous compounds. So there's, for all of our immune systems' finesse and sophistication at being able to say, okay, this is Miranda Wiley, this is her cell, and we're not going to hurt it. The fact that we are able to host trillions of microbes in the thousands of different types of species and strains and not confer an immune reaction to them speaks to this sort of this complex relationship that we have and this understanding of you are friend, not foe. But if I were to eat something with salmonella or E. coli or some other contaminant on it, it's the microbes in the digestive tract that are going to be exposed first, and they can send a message and send that signal to my immune system to say, okay, we need all hands on deck, incoming danger, we need to protect our host against this potential invader. They also help to produce some anti-inflammatory compounds that help us to fight off other disease-causing microbes. So part of it is they're teaching our immune system alert, and part of it is that they can join in the fight and be part of that response to keep us healthy, again, so that we can keep them alive and give them a nice home. Our microbes are acquired at birth. Microorganisms are found on the outside of our bodies, and when we say outside, that does include the digestive tract. We are essentially, we think of it as, this is my outside and all that is innards. But if you think about it, we're kind of like a very glorified, elaborate donut. We have this tube running through us, and whatever passes through that tube is external to our system. So on the outside of our bodies, our skin, our hair, our nails, our eyes, our ears, and the inside, like all the way through that digestive tract, our lungs are technically, that's external tissue because the air comes in and goes out. We could follow along that pathway. Vaginal delivery is when baby was believed to be sterile in the womb, although we have, I think the next point says, there's some new evidence theories that says that maybe not completely sterile. But it's that passage through the vaginal canal where baby literally gets like smeared with a selection of mom's good microbes that was in the vaginal fluid. So that is the first way for a baby to become inoculated. I love these slides because they are an important understanding of how we evolved and the way the microbiome gets passed on from generation to generation. I also kind of hate these slides because sometimes a cesarean section is absolutely necessary, and the baby does end up with a different selection of microbes, but both of my babies were born by cesarean, one of them an emergency C-section when I was only 6 months pregnant. The key point is having a healthy kid on the other side. And we can work with our understanding of vaginal delivery and how that supports babies' immune health and still apply that to C-section babies. So that is ongoing research that's happening there too. We used to think that a mother's womb was completely sterile. Limited evidence suggests that babies may come into contact with some microbes while still inside the womb. This is part of that great big, iceberg of understanding that we are still exploring and learning more and more about. The microbe, so that baby, presumably sterile, comes into contact with some microbes, and some of those microbes are going to be the pioneering ones that are happy to grow on virgin territory and start to proliferate. And others will be like, no, this isn't the right place for me, and they'll disappear. But we get exposed to them later in life, and now the environment has changed a bit thanks to those early settlers, and now they might be more willing to set up residence and live there. And so as we grow, our gut microbiome begins to diversify. There is a reason why babies put everything in their mouth. You hand them a toy, it goes in their mouth. They pick up a twig, it goes in their mouth. Here it's a rock, it's a whatever. And they're sampling the world around them and bringing in different microbes, some of which may just pass through. This is not the right place for me. Some of which may stick around and become part of that child or that human being's microbial fingerprint as they develop. That higher microbiome diversity is generally considered good for your health. So we need to play with that with small children and maybe get some clean dirt for them to play with and get into the soil so that they're getting some minerals from the soil and getting exposure to different antigens and different microbes and increasing their microbiome diversity while not, playing in a sandbox full of cat poo. We got to find that balance. So we want that diversity, but we don't want to bring in the microbes that are going to cause illness. So it's a big push-pull as a parent today. The gut microbiome affects the body from birth to death by helping to control the digestion of food, the immune system, the central nervous system, and other processes. So every ailment that we have, generally we're going to come back to the gut to some degree, work on what we can there, and try to improve the nervous system, the immune function, the hormone balance, everything else. Our microbial diversity is affected by a number of things. First one we talked about was the type of birth, whether it's cesarean or vaginal. Breastfeeding versus formula. Again, we used to think that breast milk was sterile and baby got everything through the birth canal. Now there's evidence that some dendritic cells, a part of our nervous system, actually sample the bacteria in our gut, travel through, and then expose it into the milk ducts. And so baby may actually be getting actual bacteria from mom's digestive tract through breastfeeding. It's very cool. Need a lot more knowledge on this one. But again, sometimes that's not an option. Mom can't do it, baby doesn't latch, whatever the situation may be, in which case formula is this wonderful life-saving fluid that helps to keep babies alive. So we got to find that balance there and encourage vaginal birth and breastfeeding without passing judgment on cesarean-born formula-fed children. You might just need a little extra support. Country of origin, so where we grew up, determines a bit of our microbial diversity. And when we travel, we may be exposed to new microbes that could make us ill. Travel, remember that? We'll come back to it. Our diet, so the more variety we get in our diet, the more variety we have available for our microbiome. So each strain, each species of bacteria has its preferred foods. And if all we eat are the same, 3 things all the time, we're going to encourage the growth of those microbes. We like a little bit of different stuff that we don't really consume, they're going to suffer and not be able to thrive. So good variety from ideally the plant kingdom, and then balancing that without some good fats and proteins. Medication, absolutely, antibiotics, the first ones that come to mind, proton pump inhibitors. There's a number of meds that may affect our microbial diversity. Stress. So learning more and more about how, mind over matter, the mind and matter are intimately connected. And when we have stress, which is what we're going to be talking about sort of in the next section, that affects our microbial diversity and how many of those particular strains are able to proliferate and which ones fade away in the face of that ongoing chronic stress. Toxicity, certainly, glyphosate, there's a lot of compounds and pesticides and herbicides in our world that will kill off the microbes in our gut. And our age, we start off pretty bacterially naive. We become more complex as we age and grow and sample our environment. And then as we continue to age, microbial diversity slows down. And so we really want to encourage what we can to support the seniors and the elders to maintain their microbial diversity and maintain their health long into the autumn of their lives. So the immune system is it. We're gonna kick some microbial butt. It's a lot more complex than this one algorithm, but just to give a bit of an overview, the immune system is so complex. When we look at our liver, we have, you know, a few types of cells. Our skin, we have a few types of cells. Our immune system, we have many, many, many types of cells, and they're all communicating with each other. So the innate is like our physical barriers. Our skin protects us from outside environments. Our nose dripping in cold weather. It's a way of flushing things out. Our eyes watering, urination, defecation. All of these are ways to help clean out our system. So we have sort of our built-in physical barriers. Stomach acid helps to neutralize whatever we eat, just burn it off. It can't pass through and proliferate. That's what we're all born with. The adaptive immune system is what develops based on our experiences and based on our particular life and how we grow and develop. So the first line of defense, we have our natural killer cells. They attack, they're good at saying like, hey, that's me, that's me, that's me. That's not me. Kill it off. It's clearly a foreign invader. Or that's me, but it's looking a little different. So it might be infected by a virus, or it maybe didn't catch a mutation and it's acting different. So we're gonna get rid of that one. Phagocytes, these are literally like big eater cells. They just come as like the blob that ate Manhattan. They just consume anything that shouldn't be there, eat it up, break it down into little particles. It's no longer a threat. We get past that and still lining our lymphatic tissues, our galt and our balt, we have the white blood cells. Natural killer is a type of white blood cell, so are the phagocytes, but more specifically, we have our B cells and our T cells, and they have their own specialized jobs. So a B cell comes into contact with an antigen, or it could be an allergen, and it's going to morph, become a plasma cell that pumps out antibodies that then teaches the rest of the immune system this is something now to be aware of. T cells, similarly, they're taking messages from the phagocytes that just ate a foreign invader and saying, here, you guys should look out for more of these guys. They're eliminating enemies. They're talking to the B cells. There's this complex communication that goes on. But we have multiple arms of our immune system, all doing their specialized roles. Kind of like a community, a city. Everyone has their niche, their part to play. Some work in teams, some work in isolation, and teams talk to each other in different ways. How stress impacts our immunity. Stress, we need to understand, is always going to be there. It is a natural part of life. You know, if a tree grows up in a sheltered environment, it's going to grow up very straight, limited root system. The trees around it then fall and is exposed to wind, kaboom, it's gone. A tree that grows up constantly being stressed by wind is going to have a much stronger, it was raised tough. It's going to have a deeper hold on the earth. It's going to be more resilient. It still needs to bend so it doesn't break. But stress is always going to be there. What we want to talk about is how well we adapt to it. And how well we cope with it. So I ask all of my patients, how stressed are you and what are they? And how do you cope with this? What are your mechanisms? And some people it's going for a run. Some people it's having a glass of wine. Some people it's screaming. Some people it's bottling up. We need to find out what those mechanisms are so we can support the ability to cope. Stress is a part of life. I don't think it's for most of us. I think it's for all of us. And it can either be short or long term. Let's accept that it will always be at different times, either short or long term. Short term, final exam. Uh-oh, there's a deadline. Some jerk just cut me off in traffic. We've got short-term stresses. We get over it. Long-term, you have a sick loved one. You're changing your career. There's a pandemic that's been going on for a year. You've been in isolation. You're missing people. There's always going to be something. War, right? Look at World War I. That was World War II. 4 or 5 years of bombs and where's my family and all this separation. So humans have gone through this before. We will go through it again. And the key thing is, how do we cope? Stress causes our body to produce higher levels of the stress hormone cortisol, also produces adrenaline and norepinephrine. We have a number of neurochemical changes that happen. Remember, a lot of those neurotransmitters are in our gut, same ones that are in our brain. Cortisol is our primary stress hormone, not even long-term. It kind of comes out short-term as well, but it directly affects our immune system. It suppresses inflammation. So if you are, I need to escape that bear, let's suppress that immune system. If you don't escape the bear, it doesn't matter if you've got a cold. Suppress it, get away, and then let it bounce back up. And then we can get into healing, rest and digest, regenerate. But we're in that fight or flight. get rid of anything unnecessary. So cortisol kind of helps dampen that process. But if it goes on long term, if we always have this chronically high level of cortisol in our system, that's creating an anti-inflammatory response throughout our bodies, which can then allow microbes and pathogens to potentially overstep the mark. Or we can go on for so long that eventually our adrenals hit fatigue or they start to dysfunction and they produce less cortisol. And now we're in a state where we can have this ongoing inflammation with nothing there to bring it down, nothing to keep it in balance. So we can get used to having too much cortisol, which can open the door to inflammation, or we can stop producing adequate amounts of cortisol and then we open up the door to more inflammation. Either way, inflammation, the silent killer, we've got to stay on top of that. Stress also decreases our body's lymphocytes. And again, this is a survival mechanism. You need to get away from that avalanche that's coming at you. It doesn't matter if you have a cold sore at that time. If our immune system is chronically being shut down though by that ongoing stress and lower lymphocyte levels, then we're at greater risk of the next virus that comes along actually getting in and taking hold, as opposed to just like, oh, you sneezed on me? No biggie. My immune system's got this. It's gonna, nip it in the bud. Look at that. I just hung out with a bunch of sick people. I'm totally fine. Versus I just, hung out with someone in the fresh air and now I've got a sniffle. So it's how resilient we are, which comes down to our stress to a degree. Depression, anxiety, gut health, inflammation, digestive function, all intimately linked. High levels of stress, which can manifest as depression and or anxiety, those can then feed into inflammation. And it comes down to these little things called cytokines. They're like the emails that immune cells are sending each other and that they're sending out to other parts of the body. These little communications or text messages of, hey, we've got an invader, or, oh my goodness, someone left the toilet seat up again and I'm crying over it. So we gotta find out how well we're dealing with that. So these interleukins, these cytokines, they can affect inflammation and depression, anxiety, and that can go in a spiral. If I get someone coming in with primarily digestive issues, I'm usually asking them, talk to me about your stress levels. How are you feeling? Depression, anxiety, insomnia. Someone comes in, I feel awful. I'm not coping very well. Let's talk about your gut health. So all of these things are feeding into each other. It's a cycle. In the long term, sustained high levels of inflammation point to an overworked, overtired immune system that cannot properly protect you. How can probiotics help? That was doom and gloom enough. Let's talk about some solutions. We need to understand first what a probiotic is. World Health Organization defines it as a live microorganism which, when administered in adequate amounts, so not just a little sprinkling, confers a health benefit on the host. So these are good bacteria, make us feel better. And when we talk about, so I love this because I've been using this analogy for ages and I saw it in the presentation this time. Like, did they take that from me? Probably not. Their genus, this is the big overarching organizational group. Our species, we are Homo. Then our species, we are sapiens. Took me a while. We look at dogs, they're all Canis familiaris. Every dog, your Irish Wolfhound, your Chihuahua, the Boxer, the Boston Terrier, they are all the same type of dog. They can all interbreed, but their strain or their breed is what makes them different. Likewise with bacteria, we can no longer say, just take some probiotics, you'll be fine. Some probiotics may be beneficial for that particular ailment, and some may not. So lactobacillus, okay, acidophilus, getting a bit more specific with the species, but there's thousands of different types of lactobacillus acidophilus. Which one or ones do you need for your health? The other analogy would be apples. They're all Malus domesticus, but a Gala tastes very different from Granny Smith. And that's where we come into those strains, those bit more subtleties. So you really want to be paying more attention to the strains. That's where the research is going now. All probiotic strains are not created equally. They might be, but we're still learning about all of them. We want to make sure we use the right strain for the right job. So understanding what it does. How do you choose your probiotic? You're looking at the box of the bottle. You want to look at the culture count and see how many billions of live cultures per serving are in there. Some people need a lot more than others, depending on what they're facing. Multiple strains. We are hosting a rainforest, or we should be. We want diversity. I tree planted my way through undergrad, go out into the woods. They've clear cut this beautiful mountainside. And now we're only planting pine up and down the side of the mountain. it's not going to have the same ecosystem impact on the ferns that grow there, on the wildlife that comes in. We want multiple strains. So a good variety of bifido and lactobacilli. The delivery system, most Renew Life probiotics are in specialized acid-resistant vegetarian DR caps. DR caps is delayed release that protect the bacteria through the highly acidic environment of the stomach. Take it with food, and that will also buffer some of the acidity in the stomach. We want to look at the potency at the time of expiration. The earlier you take it before expiration, the more you're going to get. So if you see 50 billion on the label, that's how many is there when it expires. 3 months ahead of time, you'll have more. 6 months ahead of time, you'll have even more. Storing it, some are in the fridge, some are on the shelf. Bottom line is, what are you going to take? If you're going to remember to open up the fridge, great. If you want to put it in your pill organizer thing and just have it there with all the other stuff that you take, great. It doesn't matter. And then targeted formulas, and that's where we're going to talk more about the Renew Life products. I'm talking about 6 or 7 of them, 6, I think. 5 of which have very specific researched strains. Again, we're going back to the research to get those specific health benefits. Renew Life has been winning a lot of awards. They are an American company, but they've been in Canada since 2002. They have a full line of quality probiotics, which we're going to talk about, essential fatty acids, digestive aids, fiber, enzymes, and internal cleanses that have been empowering people to elevate their quality of life through better digestive health. It was founded by a woman who was a colon hydrotherapist saying, wow, this is not working. I can't just be rinsing up the gunk. We got to start higher up the digestive tract. The Alive Awards have been showcasing the best of the best in natural health for more than 20 years. There's Alive magazine, and they have their award system. And since 2003, a year after Renew Life came into Canada, they've won over 98 Alive Awards. So in the last 17 years, that averages out to 5 or 6 awards per year. These are the ones we're going to talk about. There is a much more extensive line, but these are the ones we're really going to discuss. You'll see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 have study claims. We're doing it from research, and we're going to talk about the critical care just because it's the bestseller, and maybe you don't need a specific one. You just need a good overall probiotic. So the clinically studied strains. This is again where we're going to get into that specific. Bifidobacterium genus, Bifidum species R0071 is the strain. Comparing that to the other bifidobacteriums that we see on this slide, which have different species and also different strains. I'm going to be talking about all of these individually, so I'm going to just gloss over this slide. Here we go. The Renew Life Ultimate Flora Immune Support. This one was a 6-week study. They took people suffering, immune support versus mood support. The immune support, this one they looked at undergrad students. So they had academically stressed individuals, and every day for 6 weeks, they had to fill out a questionnaire. It was a 9-point questionnaire, different symptoms of colds. Do you have a sore throat? Yes or no? And if you do, give it a rating from 0, 1, 2, or 3. Do you have a stuffy nose? 0, 1, 2, or 3. Headache. So 9 cold symptoms, rating of 0 to 3 for a full 6 weeks. And at the end of that, and then there was also the placebo groups. At the end of that, they found that this particular strain of bacteria decreased the number of days sick and the severity of those illnesses. So I think in the placebo group, it was like they had 2.5 or 3 days of intense illness, maybe more. I do forget the exact numbers. But in the study group taking the Bifidobacterium R0071, it was only like 1.8 days. So the duration of the illness was less. So frequency, intensity, and duration were all lowered by taking this particular Bifidobacterium, Bifidum R0071 with 4 other probiotic strains. We still want diversity for the gut, 30 billion overall. So this is great when you're undergoing long-term stress and you don't want to get cold on the other side. This is the one to turn to. There we go. Helps reduce the incidence of cold-like symptoms in stressed adults and helps to support intestinal and gastrointestinal health. The mood and stress, this one was a 30-day study. And if you go into hospital with mental emotional issues, they have various standardized questionnaires that they give. So depression questionnaires, anxiety questionnaires. And they had people fill out these questionnaires, and every day for 30 days, they took these 2 strains of microbes and found that at the end of those 30 days, Overall, there was less global anxiety, less depression, less hostility, less, I think, paranoia as well, OCD, like a lot of markers of mental emotional health improved in 30 days of taking this particular formula with these strains. So this one helped to reduce, and decrease somatization, which is when your body experiences that stress. So under stress, some people will feel constipated or diarrhea, they'll get some bloating, maybe some stabby pains or abdominal discomfort. When they took these strains, there were fewer stress-related gastrointestinal complications, so their tummies felt better, and they had fewer feelings of anxiety, and there was a healthier mood balance. This is when, yes, I can, we feel better. But if you're someone who has digestive issues and pain and discomfort, and you know that it connects to your mental emotional health, this would be the formula to look for. This is the one where we don't have specific studies. This is just sort of like the multi of probiotics, the convenient multi-strain probiotic formula for everyday use to help support intestinal and gastrointestinal health. 50 billion live bacterial cultures per serving. This is the one you see in the fridge. This is the one you'll find on the shelf. 30 billion bifido to 20 billion lactobacilli. So we generally say bifido has benefit for the bowels. The alliteration tends to help. Once a day, daily release capsules for targeted delivery. Again, the quality, purity, and potency. No Renew Life products contain any gluten. Shelf-stable formula. This one here does not contain dairy or soy. The refrigerated one does. So if there's a soy or dairy consideration, that would help you guide you towards the one on the shelf. And all Renew Life products are non-GMO. The next studied one, this one, it only has 2 probiotic strains in it, but they are 2 strains that were studied in children ages 3 to 12, and how long, I forget the length of the study, but they were given these 2 strains of probiotic bacteria. And then at the end of, I can't remember, I think it was a 1-month study, might have been a 90-day study, I think it was a 1-month study, they found that they had the same number of colds as their friends, but they got over them faster and they had less absenteeism in school. So kids are going to get sick. It's part of the immune system maturing and developing and creating those antibodies to protect us down the road. But if we can get them over it faster, get your antibodies, move on, go back and play with your friends. Got the next cold, get over it, back to play with your friends. So Daily Boost Probiotic for Kids helps to support digestive and respiratory tract health, helps to support intestinal and gastrointestinal health. Convenient, fast melting fruit punch flavor powder that's fun for kids to take. I can attest to that. My kids love this. You just pour it straight in their mouth. You can mix it in applesauce if they want to dilute it a little bit more, or enjoy it a little bit more. This next study, they looked at, it was 61 children who had recurrent strep throat, chronically getting strep throat, which is awful because then they have to go on antibiotics and they're definitely missing school. And they looked at this particular bacteria, Streptococcus salivarius K12, and found that it decreased the incidence of viral pharyngotonsillitis in children. And at the end of a 90-day trial, so 30 kids got placebo, 31 kids got the throat defense probiotic. So we have the 2 from the previous study where it decreased the incidence of colds, plus this 1 Streptococcus salivarius K12. And they found that there was more than 90% reduction in the incidence of strep throat. That's huge. If you've got a kid who's always going on antibiotics and you can give them this orange flavored chewable tablet and reduce the strep throat development, that's amazing. And you're supporting the gut flora at the same time. And then this one, near and dear to my heart, I mentioned that my son was born 3 months early, emergency C-section, so definitely in the NICU, little preemie. One of the issues that premature babies can have is a gut issue called necrotizing enterocolitis. Essentially, the cells of the intestine die. And they use this study in infants, preemies, born less than 32 weeks gestation. My son was 26 weeks, and found that it decreased, significantly decreased the amount of necrotizing enterocolitis and death in preemies. That's huge. So we have good research behind this, used in over 60 Canadian hospitals, and can be taken as early as 1 day old. So we want to support baby. Maybe baby was born by cesarean, maybe mama can't breastfeed. Let's give baby all the help they can get. We also want to talk quickly about the importance of fiber. Most food sources of fiber have both soluble and insoluble. So if we imagine the sponge, you've got the part that soaks up the water and the soap and will, wash things away. And then you have the scrubby bit when you've got that hard stuck on material. And that's what's helping to scrub the digestive tract. So soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. The insoluble does not break down in water. It's going to stay chunky and gritty the whole way through. So you need to chew well. Provides bulk that strengthens and tones the muscles of the bowel and helps us sweep the walls of the bowel clean. So this is our scrub brush. Soluble fiber does break down in water. It forms that kind of jelly-like substance, and it helps to trap waste. It absorbs a lot of toxins that your body, either the microbes are producing or that your liver has expelled through the bile. Fibre SMART, this one is based on flax. It is defatted so that it is more shelf stable, but you're getting both soluble and insoluble fiber in there. It's in capsule form for people who prefer to pop pills. It's also in a powder form for people who prefer to add it to their yogurt or put it in a smoothie or put it in some applesauce or however you want to do it, sprinkle it on your salad. So flax-based, you're getting both soluble and insoluble. Helps to keep the digestive tract running smoothly. Also contains glutamine, marshmallow bark, slippery elm bark. Things are going to help soothe the digestive tract. One scoop is giving you 7.5 grams. I'm generally writing down for people. Try to keep your sugars at less than 25 grams per day. Try to get your fiber above 25 grams per day. And that'll help to keep the digestive tract going and support immune function as well. Fibre SMART does contain both soluble and insoluble and is a way of getting additional fiber into the diet while we work on shifting things around. How can we bring in more nuts and seeds and whole grains rather than refined grains and fruits and vegetables? Some people can't do well with insoluble fiber. I got some questions at the beginning about if we're going to cover, things like SIBO or IBS. If there's inflammatory bowel, like sometimes that roughness irritates the system. We don't want to do that. So if someone does have an issue with insoluble fiber, then we can go for a pure soluble, which is the organic clear fiber. This one's coming from acacia, 100% acacia fiber. Very well tolerated. It's really soothing to the digestive tract, and it does seem to support the growth of bifidobacteria. So remember, bifido has benefit for the bowel. The acacia is going to help feed those bifido genus and species, which can then in turn benefit the intestines a little bit more. 100% soluble. I mean, you can mix this into your coffee in the morning. If put it in your water throughout the day, it goes down really easily. People don't have to notice this one. It's a nice subtle one to slip into a child's diet if the child isn't getting enough fiber. Mixes clear and tasteless into cooking and baking, shakes, coffee, even water. No nuts, gluten, dairy, or soy, and non-GMO, as are all Renew Life products. And sometimes we need to rebuild and repair the gut. That intestinal barrier so I mentioned before, at some places in our small intestine, it's only one cell thick with us on one side and foreign external environment on the other side. We want that to be a very strong wall. We want all of those cells tightly knit together, a good defensive barrier. And then the immune system lines all that for anything that might sneak through or be taken up by the system. Some antigens are transported across the epithelium, and that will initiate an immune response because the gut is right there. The dendritic cells, these like dendrites, they kind of have like long arms. They're found in the intestinal wall. They monitor the microbiota. They're looking for threats. They're like tentacles in a way, looking out to see if there's E. coli or salmonella or anything negative that they can then tell the immune system right away. And having a healthy gut lining is an important part of good immune health. So here we have, let's say, all those cells are tightly knit together. When we digest food, they don't have any food particles here, but the amino acids, the fatty acids, the sugars, they go through the cell, not in between the nooks and crannies, right through the cell. They're absorbed in along these microvilli through the cell and then deposited the other side into the blood, which will then get transported to the liver. When we have inflammation, think of any time you've sprained your ankle, the cells start to move apart. There's heat and redness and swelling. When they move apart, bigger particles can go through. So undigested strips of food can pass through. That then can create an allergy response or a food sensitivity response on the other side. Microorganisms and toxins can pass through. Our barrier, our wall is breached. We want to work on how we can tighten that up and protect our system at the place where we are the most vulnerable. And that's where IntestiNEW comes in. So probiotics, I feel like, people are pretty familiar with this idea that it's in commercials. I grew up, you had to look to see if it was pasteurized or unpasteurized yogurt. I can't remember the last time I saw a pasteurized yogurt anywhere. We know we need these microbes. We know we need more of them than we can generally get in just yogurt or sauerkraut. But I think this is sort of the next wave of understanding, is healing up the gut itself so that the probiotics, the fiber, it's all part of this complex system of support. This one helps to rebuild and repair the intestinal tract lining with 2 key nutrients, glutamine, and at 5 grams per day, that is a pretty significant serving of glutamine, 200 milligrams of N-acetylglucosamine. N-acetylglucosamine is like the mortar that goes in between the bricks. It's the chink in the armor. That said, it does come from shellfish. So I know I'm with the shellfish sensitivity. This is not for you, but wonderful, wonderful compound for tightening up those gaps. Also has ginger. I think it might also have some other herbs in there to help support digestion and soothing. Marshmallow as well and slippery elm as well. Therapeutic strength, help maximize the health benefits of that formula. Therapeutic, 5 grams of glutamine, definitely a therapeutic dose. So immune support strategies, and we're wrapping it up. Sleep. Sometimes you really want to and you just can't. So I talk to my patients about the earplugs and the blackout blinds. Some people are just like, I got other things to do. There's this really great series I feel like binge watching. Whatever the obstacle is, be it mental, emotional, or physical, you have a hard time, sleep is not your friend, find someone to help you work with that. We have to get more sleep. Diet, minimizing sugar. So like I said, I'm telling my patients 25 grams per day maximum when it comes to sugar. High blood sugar, low immune cells. White blood cells go down. So if you are going to have a sweet, tack it on to the end of a meal when your belly is full of fiber and vegetables and protein and clean fats, and you have that little bit of sugar at the end so you don't get that big blood sugar spike. Worst thing you can do is have pure sugar like in the middle of, between meals. You get that really high glycemic load. Prebiotics, so we're kind of coming back to the fiber. So low sugar, high fiber. And there's specific foods that, again, will feed different bacteria. So we want a range of our prebiotic bacteria coming in, unless you have SIBO. It's a whole other talk. Probiotics, we've covered those. They interact with the immune cells. They help to shift that T helper cell balance. So here we're talking about allergy versus susceptibility to infection. Are you hyperreactive in your immune response or hyporeactive? Also antagonistic against potentially pathogenic organisms. We want to take your probiotics daily to support healthy gut flora. And stress reduction. Stress will be there. Reduce it where you can. Practice saying no. Maybe you need a new job. Maybe you need to delegate. Maybe you need to ask friends and family for more support, but also working on our coping mechanisms. High stress, when we have that fight or flight response, that can benefit the immune system, doesn't always, but the chronic stress, when that fight or flight is daily or monthly or yearly, that can really, really have a negative impact. So this is where we're talking about meditation, exercise, fresh air, just finding those mechanisms that are going to help you cope with stress more effectively, getting more sleep, minimizing the sugar, changing the diet, supporting our gut. But meditation, I think, it's on the up and up. There's a show on Netflix now from Headspace. There's, more and more awareness coming of it. I think it's the one take home for stress reduction. Explore some meditation into your life. Why choose Renew Life? I've been talking about them for about an hour now, just under an hour. Almost 2 decades of specializing in digestive care. Award-winning products, I said 5 or 6 a year up here in Canada. Quality testing on everything. Unique formulas using a lot of the research that's available. Clinically studied strains, in some probiotic formulas. Probiotic is guaranteed, here we go, over here. Potency through to expiration. Woo! All right, I'm gonna go back one. You do have a 60-day money-back guarantee. So you try your Renew Life. We want you to feel better. If you don't, bring it back, but pretty low return rate. People generally feel good on these. The strain transparency is right there on the pack. It tells you exactly which strain. Therefore, we can be more clear and have intention about what that strain is going to do, why you're taking it. Potency through to the time of expiration, and multiple diverse strains. So we want to get that ecosystem flourishing. The human body wants to be in homeostasis. This is balance. It wants to be healthy. Support it with the right nutrients, sufficient water, adequate exercise, supplements, rest, and play, and it will cleanse, reconstruct, and keep you safe. One of the principles of naturopathic medicine is the healing power of nature. Part of that is that we look to herbs and foods and the world around us to help heal us. But part of that is this understanding or this belief that the body is inherently able of healing itself. If it isn't there, either something's blocking it or something's missing. We need to identify what those things are. Everybody wants to live a healthy life, and a healthy gut can help you do that. So thank you so much. I don't know if I start with Q&A or the chat box. I'm going to start with Q&A, and there are let me go through. Okay. Discuss diverticula. So the colon wall, muscular tube that moves along, if that gets a little bit of a, so we'll go like this. I'm trying to draw with my hands here. If you get a little pouch on the outside, and then food and debris, microbes can get caught in there, and that can lead to inflammation, which is then diverticulitis. Oh no, it gets quiet and then okay. Is that a mic issue? Oh, I hope it was okay. How to manage bloating. That enzymes would be something to discuss. My question back would be, is it just bloating periodically, or is it bloating all day, every day? Gut health will absolutely be discussed. Best way to heal the gut properly, that would be the IntestiNEW. Earth versus human probiotics. So I think we're talking about soil-based organisms versus human microflora. Soil-based organisms are generally the things that the babies are coming into contact with, they pass through, but they don't belong in us. They generally belong in the soil. They become part of our gut flora. They can change the environment as they go through. Some won't, but some can be beneficial and some cannot be beneficial. Human microflora, that's where we have the bulk of the studies, because we know that they like us as hosts and they tend to stick around. Could we provide suggestions on how to improve overall digestive function, get indigestion, constipation, gas very easily? Yeah, see, these personal ones, I would love to. We should talk more one-on-one. This is where I'm used to having someone like read and kind of proof these, and they can come to the end like immediately. Here's us. How can we increase and diversify our gut health to improve our overall health? That predominantly through our diet. So getting some good variety in our plant-based organisms. Daughter born by emergency C-section and then wasn't able to breastfeed. More vulnerable? Possibly. Research, I was part of a study for my second child. There's research happening in hospitals right now where they will take a sample of mom's vaginal fluid and immediately inoculate a newborn baby born by cesarean. So the research is still developing on that and the safety, and do we need to screen mom first or anything to go with there? She might be, she might not be. There's also in formula now, there's more and more you're seeing galacto-oligosaccharides, so things that help to support the friendly flora. Whoa, oh, dear me, okay. Nope, gonna go back to slideshow, away from current slide, keep that up there. Capsules, probiotic, should we use for candida? You gotta clean out the candida first. Renew Life does have a candida cleanse. Is lactobacillus okay if I can't digest casein? The microbe is okay, the lactobacilli, but you want to make sure you're getting the shelf-stable probiotics that don't have any dairy in it. Yes, the presentation will be available. I understand it gets emailed out to those who registered, and it shows up on a YouTube channel. Yes, you can take multiple strains at the same time. Yes, a probiotic can be taken continuously. I would argue that it should be taken continuously. We don't get a lot of fermented foods in our diet anymore. And even if we do, they tend to be lower. The Before we had refrigeration and sterilization and packaging and ways of preserving our food, we were eating microbially fermented foods every day. So yes, probiotics daily. Mood and stress, probiotic be beneficial if you're already taking anti-anxiety medication. I don't know of any contraindications there. You're working on gut health, you're not going against it. So I would say yes, and even do your own, maybe depression or anxiety or whatever your mental emotional concern is, do your own testing score card at the beginning of it, take it again at the end of the month and see if it's improving things. You might want to work with your prescriber then to lower the dose if necessary. Ultimate Flora for women, absolutely, for both digestive and bladder issues, also for vaginal support. Which bacteria is best for insulin resistance? Fiber is the one that comes to mind. Be careful if you're on a medication, but soluble fiber can help to lower blood sugar levels. So there's even a warning on the box about, you know, don't use if you have diabetes. It's really, we just need to be mindful of our blood sugar levels. And if you're on a medication, then, you know, work with someone. This is all me speaking very generally and not giving direct medical advice to anyone. Are fiber supplements safe for someone who has diverticulosis? Maybe not so much on the insoluble. If it's just diverticulosis, it should be fine. That just means you have the pouch. Diverticulitis is when it's inflamed. That's when I definitely want to be pulling back. 25 grams of sugar per day. Is this added sugar? How much fiber? Yeah, 25 grams of sugar per day. There used to be on Netflix. It's gone now. I don't know where you'd find it. A good movie called That Sugar Film. And it's an Australian guy. Worth watching. What's a good probiotic? The daily care is the most possible one. Yeah, some of these are a bit too specific for individual issues. How long do you take the probiotic for? Ongoing. At most, I would say you can do it every other day, but your cells in the intestinal tract are constantly renewing because they are the thinnest. You're bringing in new ones, sloughing off the old ones continuously. And as they slough, because of all that wonderful fiber you're taking, it can pull away some of the bacteria as well. So taking good bacteria on a regular basis. Yeah, some of these are a bit too specific, and I'm sorry. Does acidophilus help with mood? Not specific one. We need to get into an isolated strain that might do it. Probiotic or prebiotic for constant UTIs. Whoops. Try the Ultimate Flora VS. Yeah, so some of these yeast infections, likely candida, could be another type of yeast or fungi, but the Renew Life Candida kit, it's great. It's 2 weeks. It's also a Paragon kit. Breastfeed C-section. Yeah, how much probiotics to take kind of depends on you and your gut. The goal that we are looking for is a stool that passes very easily, at least once a day, maybe 2 or 3 times a day. That's totally fine. We want it to be sort of the shape of a banana, half sink, half swim, medium brown. That's your ideal. If you're not having that, let's work on microbes. Let's work on gut lining. Let's work on diet, liver support, like anything, how well you chew. Let's work on sitting mindfully at the table and putting away distractions. There's a lot that goes into improving digestion. But whether you should take 30 billion a day or 80 billion a day, really, like, where is your gut at? Where is your immune system at? And let's get more specific and unique. That's why I'm having a hard time with a lot of these questions, because some of them are too general and some of them are too specific for that one person, and it would be sort of inappropriate for me to cover it here. Carbs and protein together, not necessarily, that's fine. It shows up in a lot of food. Okay. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to your question. It might have just been too specific or not specific enough. And then in the chat, oh my. Oh, some thank yous. That's really nice. Do I see patients virtually outside my province? Legally not allowed to. I need to be seeing BC residents within BC. That all came about with the shift to telehealth thanks to COVID. Yes, you need to be careful with store-bought sauerkraut due to histamines, absolutely. And also I wouldn't buy sauerkraut from the aisles. You want to get the refrigerated stuff around the edge. But if someone has inflamed gut, you're right, the histamines could work against them. Anyone taking Restoralax, if there's any constipation, first thing, more water. Second thing, look at probiotics and or fiber. But water is the general starting point for most people. Diverticulosis, sorry, I don't always see where my cursor is, and then I touch the slide. Let's see if it's playing out. Diverticulosis cannot really be cured. Once it's outpouched, it's not going to tighten up again, but we want to stop it from becoming diverticulitis, and that would be the main thing. Yes, you can open the capsules if you cannot swallow pills. Definitely take it with food then, because the food will help to buffer the pH, right? Your stomach is nice and acidic, the food is not, so that'll bring the pH up a little bit. Probiotic for someone who's having a hard time digesting carbs, we want to look more at enzymes. Difference between the fridge stored and shelf stored. Fridge, all of Renew Life gluten-free on the shelf, also dairy-free and soy-free. I don't know why I lose my cursor. Sorry guys, there are just so many questions about, oh yeah, okay. Thank you. Concern for children not being exposed to germ and building an immune system during COVID. There's lots of theories all around. I think we might have to wait and see. Good bowel movements, taking magnesium citrate, absolutely. Renew Life also has Cleanse More, which uses magnesium oxide as well as some Ayurvedic herbs. Fantastic for encouraging that bowel movement the next day. Promotional code, that I do not know about. Hopefully someone can answer that. How do we contact you? I have a website, drmirandawiley.com. Information, thank you for the thank yous. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there. That was just over an hour. Okay, one last peek at the Q&A. I see some more. Family history, how to improve a messed up stomach lining. IntestiNEW, let's talk about diet, let's talk about chewing. Probiotics with an immune compromised system, possibly, and that's where we're getting into the specific strains. So, immunocompromised, it's a big broad term. Is this medically, is this drug induced, autoimmune? That's too specific, but you'd want to be working with specific probiotic strains for that particular support. Best time to take it with food. Yes, best time to take probiotics with food. Okay, I'm shutting her down. Thank you all for coming out and joining me. I've really enjoyed this. I hope you did too. And yeah, have a good evening and wherever you are. I really, really appreciate this. All right, take care everyone. Bye.